The Indianapolis Colts are getting a double dose of good news. Plus, there's some interesting injury developments happening before the Week 1 matchup against the Houston Texans. All that and more on this video. What's going on? It's Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts every single day. And today, we are talking about the unofficial depth chart release that the Indianapolis Colts put out on Tuesday. So yesterday, didn't have the chance to make a video about it yet. But we're talking about some potentially like some interesting things coming out of this. And let's go through it. I'm going to put it there on screen, because I think there's some interesting things to take note of here, specifically in how they've organized this. We look at, no surprise here, Michael Pittman, Ashton Dulin on the wide receiver front, and then Bernard Raymond and Blake Freeland for left tackle. No surprises there. Here's where it kind of gets a little interesting, and I like this here. Quentin Nelson, Danny Pinter, or Tanner Bortolini. Ryan Kelly, Danny Pinter, or Tanner Bortolini, which means that these two could swap in either of these positions. I love this already because I like Tanner Bortolini a lot, and I think that he has a really good potential to be a good backup in either of these. And I just like good offensive line depth. PFF released their rankings for offensive lines again before the beginning of the season and ranked the Colts offensive line in the top 5. And in order to stay at the top 5, they need to be ready in case a guy goes down. And so I like depth, and I like Danny Pinter, and I really love Tanner Bortolini. I'm so curious to see his development throughout the season and throughout his career. But here's where we continue. Will Fries or Dalton Tucker, Will Fries, Dalton Tucker as the backup. Braden Smith and Matt Gonzalez. They've moved him specifically to the right tackle position. No arguments here. Mo Alley Cox, Drew Ogletree on a 1 tight end slot, and then Kylan Granson, Will Mallory for the other tight end slot. I think it's no surprises here. I definitely maybe would have thought that Drew Ogletree. I am surprised of the sorting, is what I'll say. I'm not surprised that Kylan Granson and Mo Alley Cox are the top 2 tight ends in this regard. And then wide receiver, Josh Downs is not listed as injured here, though he did not practice today. We'll get into that more shortly. And then Anthony Gold here. And then this is where the X-wide receiver is Alec Pierce or Adonai Mitchell. This is a very interesting little tagline here, this or, because Alec Pierce has had what Shane Steichen and Jim Bob Cooter have said was the best training camp a wide receiver could have. So very high praise coming from the Indianapolis Colts camp on wide receiver Alec Pierce, on a guy that, like, myself included, thought was just a good backup or even possibly a trade candidate. But it definitely appears that throughout training camp and throughout the preseason that Alec Pierce has shown his stuff and is going to make this a competition, is going to make this tough to call. I do think Adonai Mitchell is going to fall into that slot wide receiver just because the route tree for Adonai Mitchell and his release is so much stronger. And I think that he has more yard after catch ability than Alec Pierce, although Alec Pierce, again, can't knock him if the Indianapolis Colts camp is saying that he had such a good training camp. And in the unofficial release that was released by the Indianapolis Colts, still has Alec Pierce or Adonai Mitchell listed there. But again, no injury update on Josh Downs, in that he's still listed on their depth chart, so nothing to develop there. Anthony Richardson, Joe Flacco, Sam Ellinger, no surprises here. Jonathan Taylor, Trey Sermon, Tyler Goodson. So Trey Sermon, though he has not practiced in quite a while, does look to be in position at least to be our RB2 for this weekend. But don't be surprised if we see a lot of Tyler Goodson coming out of the backfield on plays where Jonathan Taylor's not there, just because Trey Sermon's been out for a long while, been out since the second preseason game against the Arizona Cardinals. So we will see as that develops. Hamstrings are no joke, especially with running backs. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that if Trey Sermon does end up moving when the official depth chart release comes. A lot of other teams have released their official depth chart, but the Colts have still kind of been slow to do that. It's only Wednesday. They don't play till Sunday. Expect to see that tomorrow or Friday. And then this is interesting. During Monday's media availability, Shane Steichen said that Downs' ankle is continuing to progress, but did not put a timetable on his return. This report says that. Another report that I read from Destin Adams did say that he's progressing well ahead of schedule, or maybe not ahead of schedule. I'm trying to remember how they phrased it, but it was a little bit better than progressing. but it did seem to indicate that he's doing well. He's not been walking around with a boot, though has not practiced. So even if I think he's fully greenlit to go, I still think they'll probably play more Adonai Mitchell than Josh Downs, only because of the amount of time that they have been without Josh Downs. It has now been since August 7th, I believe, or maybe late July. I don't remember exactly when he went down, but definitely interesting there. So let's move on to the defense, where we're all very, very curious. And this is where it's interesting. So the defensive end, they've listed Kwity Paye, Leatu Latu, DeForest Buckner, Adebimawore. I always mispronounce his name, so I apologize. And then that is for defensive tackle. For the nose tackle, it is Grover Stewart, Tavon Bryan, then Roquan Davis. Again, very interesting sorting here. It definitely seems to be mostly intentional, but surprised to see Roquan Davis behind Tavon Bryan. But nonetheless, Tyquan Lewis, Deo Odeyingbo, and then Isaiah Land. Expect to see a lot more of Deo. He had a really, really good finish to the season. Really started catching on fire there at the end. So we'll see. We'll see how they play him, see if they continue to put him opposite of either Leatu Latu or Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye is more of your run-stopping guy. I think he does better at that, in my opinion at least. So we'll see if maybe on distinct passing downs, if they throw Deo in there with him being a little bit smaller. We'll see. The linebacker room, no surprise here except for maybe a little bit from our draft picks. But EJ Speed, Zaire Franklin, Segan Alubi, and then Jalen Carley's making it in there, and then Grant Stewart. So we can expect to see a lot, especially on the 4-3, and maybe some more, again, not nickel defenses. Expect to see Jalen Carley's be able to make a start and be able to make it out there quite a bit, which is good to see. I love to see that. I want to see more of him out there. Moving on to the cornerbacks. Juju Brents, Dallas Flowers. No surprises there. Nick Cross has officially been named the free safety starter. There was a little bit of debate towards the end of training camp and preseason on if he would be sticking at free safety or moving to strong safety and pushing Julian Blackmon over to strong safety. But I do believe that your money is, where your treasure is, there your heart will be, and they put a lot of money into Julian Blackmon on this one-year deal. So they want to keep him at the position where he's done so incredibly well over last season. So we'll continue to see. Nickel corner is Kenny Moore, uncontested, obviously another guy that they paid pretty good money to, making him the highest paid nickel corner in the NFL, and then Jalen Jones and Samuel Womack III. Samuel Womack, obviously the guy that they signed late last week, being the only guy that they signed with the waiver claims. And there was an interesting development on that story in that there was apparently the Ravens and I believe the Chiefs were very interested in pulling Samuel Womack, but because the Colts were just slightly ahead of both of them in the waiver claims, that they were able to get him. But very interesting that he was highly sought after, one of the more highly sought after guys when it comes to the waiver claims. So, and then specialists. This is where I want to get into it because Rigoberto Sanchez, Matt Gay. Matt Gay has currently been injured and hasn't been practicing, did not practice today. So there is a good chance that we will see Spencer Schrader on Sunday. So don't be surprised if something happens and he has to be the kicker on Sunday. You don't really want a lot of variables when it could come down. The division could come down to what happens on Sunday. No pressure or anything, but we will see. And then this is interesting, Anthony Gould or Dallas Flowers for the kick return, and then Josh Downs, and then punt return, Anthony Gould, Josh Downs, Dallas Flowers. So that is what we've got so far. Again, the big injury news coming out of the camp of Josh Downs and Matt Gay. Neither did practice today. Those are currently the only two people listed on the injury report, and there is no update currently on if they will play on Sunday. But we will see. This is this is recorded on Wednesday. You'll probably be seeing it on Thursday. So we will continue to push updates as they come. But for now, that's all for this video.